Well, hello there. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me? Okay, great. Great. I wanted to make sure you can hear me. Thanks, Deb. Um, Hi guys. I'm going to wait for just a few more people to get on here and then we'll get started. But in the meantime, you can look at some of the pieces that I've made with the etching. Can you see those okay? Is it focused good? Let's see here. Okay, all right, you can see it. All righty. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to get started with this, and I just wanted you all to see some of the things that you can make. There's just tons of variety that you can pick from using rubber stamps. That is my method of choice, but there are other methods available. It doesn't have to be limited to jewelry either. I have made several pieces. This is just a large piece, but pieces can be incorporated into wall art, into picture frames. It's not just limited to jewelry, like I said. So you can do charms. These are washers that you can stamp and then connect and make pendants, earrings, whatever with them, a variety of different things. You can also dap them to dome them, either the traditional way, convex, concave, whatever, all those ways. But I wanted you to see those. And then I will tell you now, what do I do with this? Okay, here we go. I will tell you first off that I started on the etching process probably a good 10 years ago or so. I took a class at the Bead and Button Show in Milwaukee, and Gina Crow was my instructor. And I see that you're out there, Gina, so hi to you, and thank you for getting me started on this journey. I've just had so much fun with it. It was a real eye-opener. I had never done anything like this before, and when I saw those pieces come out of the etchant tank, I was just like, wow, this is just incredible. So I kind of want to just pass on a lot of the things that I learned from Gina, and also some things that I've kind of added on along the way. I have watched a lot of different people do etching, different methods. I tend to stick with this. I know there's saltwater etching, electro etching, different things. I've tried a few of those, but I always come back to this. I really do like this a lot. So first, I want to tell you also that this is a very messy technique, and ferric chloride is the chemical that we use, and it's a chemical, but it's one that stains. It stains a lot. So whatever clothing you're wearing, make sure that you're wearing nothing good, that you don't mind sacrificing to getting some splashes of the ferric chloride on you. Another thing is, it's a chemical that I wear gloves, but I have had my hands in the solution very briefly. It does not burn you. It's not good to have contact with your skin, at least not for long periods of time. But I just wanted to point that out, that it's not anything that you should be terrified of, but you need to have a healthy respect for chemicals. I always use safety glasses when I'm pouring and working with it closely. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. And also the disposal, I'll go over that right now. Disposal of this chemical, I generally, I use the chemical generally just once or twice because it gets used up. The effectiveness gets used up most in the first use of it. So you can maybe get a couple of uses out of it. I have done that before. But when you start off with the ferric chloride, it is a very, it's like a light rusty brown color. But after you use it just the first time, it turns into a yucky caca muddy color, and you get a lot of sludge on the bottom of it. And that's supposed to happen, but it's the metal that's flaking off in the process, but it really uses up the chemical. So if I'm going to use it a second time, I will add a little bit of fresh to the existing, and I will also sprinkle in a little bit of citric acid, just kind of sprinkle it along the top, stir it in with like a popsicle stick or something, and then you can go ahead and use it. But the etching time will take longer. It will be probably double what you used the first time, what you set it for the first time. So I will go over the supplies, and you will need, let's see, copper shapes. I'll turn the camera down here a little bit. You'll need some blank copper shapes of your choice. There's lots of variety. I happen to have a lot of different pancake dies, so I can pop these out fairly easily. I generally use 20 gauge copper sheet. I like to have the thickness of that 20 gauge because the metal is getting eaten in the solution. So if you start off with a thinner metal, it can get actually too thin during the etching process. So you can use other gauges, but you just have to check your time while you're doing that. You can also use copper washers. One nice resource for copper washers is Harbor Freight. You can get a box of them, maybe for around $8 or $9, something like that. They have changed their quality over the years. When I first was buying them, they were really nice, but I have a feeling they may mix some other metals in there other than just copper. They say solid copper, but I kind of don't think they are. But anyway, they do nicely in the etching. So you need your copper blanks. You need some rubber stamps. You can, if you have rubber stamps already, if you're a paper crafter or whatever, you might have a nice stash of stamps. There are the ones on the wooden blocks, which I love. I have a ton of them. And then there are the kind that are like a vinyl or silicone. I'm not really sure what the material is, but they have like a sticky back on them, and you can attach them to an acrylic block like this. And therefore, when you ink up the stamp and you're going to place it, you can see exactly where you're working. That's the beauty of these stamps. So if you don't have stamps and you go out in search of them, I would highly recommend these to add to your stash. They do lose their sticky on the back over time. You can wet them to kind of revive them, but I've not had a lot of luck with that. So to get longer life out of them, I use a product called Tack and Peel, which this is probably backwards, but it's Tack and Peel. I get this at Joann Fabrics or Michael's, and it's kind of pricey. It's about $10 for one sheet, but that's an item that you can use your 40% coupon on, and that makes it a lot better in my opinion. So there's that. When you use the Tack and Peel, it comes with a protective film over the adhesive strip, and I always cut the the protective film, the same size as the Tack and Peel. And then when I've done using it, then I go ahead and I put the protective coating back over it, and it protects the impression, or the stamp, I mean. So you'll get a much longer life out of it if you do it that way. You're kind of protecting your investment, so to say. So the next order of business is, oh no, sorry, I do jump ahead of myself. You need blue painter's tape. If you don't have it and you're going out to buy it, I would recommend getting the wide roll, and you'll see why in just a little bit. You will also need duct tape. Any kind is good. Cheap, cheap is good. You will need StazOn ink, and there again, it's probably backwards. StazOn ink, it is a solvent ink. You can't just use any kind of ink. You need a solvent ink. And they also sell refill bottles. This you'll probably have to find online, because it's not as readily available as these are. And these, again, you can find at Joann's or Michael's. It doesn't matter if it's black or red or green. The color doesn't really make any difference, because you're just using it as a resist. The reason you use this is it does not wash off in the etchant, and the other inks will. You can also use a Sharpie marker, but these are the industrial Sharpie markers, and they're written in red lettering, and it has to say industrial marker or it's not one. If you can draw, if you're an artist, if you had talent like that, which I don't have, you can draw on your metal, do your designs, whatever, and that's also a really nice option. So I will be using this for other purposes, which I will show you as well. And let's see. Okay. Oh, and if you do want to do double duty with your stamps and keep them nice, StazOn also has an all-purpose cleaner that you can use. You just spray on your stamps, and there's like a little scrub pad that you can buy. This one has a little bit of a nap on it, and I like it. I haven't been able to find these anywhere, but they do sell stamp cleaning pads. So, pick up one of those too. And that way you'll keep your stamps nice and clean. In the beginning, I really did try to keep my stamps clean, but it just got to be too much, and I don't do it anymore. So I rarely use the stamps for anything else other than etching. So so there's that. You will also need some packing tape. I'll get to that in a bit. You need alcohol, just standard isopropyl alcohol, baking soda. You will need the citric acid, like I showed you before. You need gloves. I use a mask when I am cleaning the pieces. You need 4/0 steel wool. It's a fine steel wool. I like to use that. You need your safety glasses. Lots of paper towels, people. You can never have too many paper towels. And you will need the ferric chloride, which, here again, where is it? Backwards. It's made by MG Chemicals, and I buy it through Allied Electronics. And I will put the resources on the broadcast after I'm done. So that way I don't have to think about that while I'm showing you everything. Then you need a tank. You need one of these disposable plastic, like Gladware, whatever, square, like a sandwich box kind of thing. And the thing that's important to look for in these, and I hope you can still find them, is one that has a flat bottom. A lot of the ones that they sell these days sometimes they have like raised edges on the bottom. And in itself, that's okay, except if your pieces fall off of the little board that we're going to make, if they fall off and they land on those ridges, it can affect your design. So if the flatter bottom that you can find, the better. You can even use a glass pan if you want. But you need to have a lid. So anything that you can designate for a tank is good. I reuse these over and over again. Okay, now so that's like the standard size. If you're just doing maybe 8 or 10 pieces, you can fit them on there. If you're going to do a lot, then you might want to consider like a 9x13 glass, a baking pan with a lid. I think these are Rubbermaid, and it's totally dedicated to etching. Don't use it for anything else. But that's also a nice option if you're going to do a lot of pieces at once. So the next order of business is making our tray to hold all the pieces. And that is going to be made from recycled meat trays. I save all my meat trays from the grocery store, wash them up real good, and you can use these. And what you're going to do is, let's see here, you're going to take your container and kind of just figure out how much you need for the inside and cut that off. So here we go. I'm just going to get some scissors and cut off the edges because we don't need those for anything. Get rid of this stuff. I've got my garbage can right here. Okay, and I think it's probably a little bit too wide. Get a little bit off there and try it out so that it fits in there. I generally snip off the corners just a little bit, just to give the foam tray a little bit of easier movement in the tank. So we're building our tank right now. So this is where the duct tape comes in. This is the worst part of the whole deal, in my opinion, is working with this tape. So we're going to, where is the end of this stuff? Are you kidding me? Oh, here we go. All right. It's like, I don't want to have a cow right off the bat here. Okay, so we're going to peel off a strip. It's probably more than I need, but oh, I hate this stuff. If you can get this on without any kind of creases all over the place, you're a better person than I. All right, so what we're going to do is wrap sticky side out, which is opposite of what you would think, but we're going to be attaching all our copper pieces to that. So sticky side out, and just wrap it around, and I generally put about 3 of these strips on there. You may or may not have seen this method before, but this is something Gina had taught us in our class, and it works. All right. Oh, picked up some copper along the way. Get back there. Okay. I try to keep all the seams on the back part of it, but it doesn't always work out that way. Okay, so this is my floating tray, or it's going to be the floating tray. And I am going to park that right here on the edge of my container, and it'll stay there because it's sticky. And then get this stuff out of my way. Okay, don't need those. Okay, so now we're going to prepare the metal. Let me get this out of the way. Now I like to use, this is nothing you have to have, but it's just something I like to use in just about all of my classes, is just one of these little craft foam things that you can get at Joann's or Michael's as well. And it's just a nice little work surface, and I can do a lot of different things on here, as I will show you. First thing off the bat, I'm going to take a paper towel and I'm going to place that on top of my little foam mat. And I'm going to do these pieces here for our demo. Is that okay like that? All right. Get this other thing out of my way. Oh, I forgot to tell you too, with that tank, you're going to need something to roll it on to agitate, and you can use these dowel rods. Having a brain fart already. You could use dowel rods or pencils, and I also have something else coming up in a minute, but I want to get this far so far. Okay, so I am going to, and I always use my face mask when I clean steel wool. I just don't like the possibility of breathing any of those fibers that break away. So I use that. If you want to keep your hands as clean as possible, you can use gloves. It doesn't really matter on this part or not, but what I'm going to do is take my 4-0 steel wool and I'm going to clean all my metal. The back side isn't as important as the front, but you can clean the back if you like, and also around the edges. And this is to remove any oxidation that might already be formed on the copper or on the metal, and also to help get off any finger oils. However, I will be handling it somewhat, so you know, I still will probably get a little bit of finger oils on there. You don't have to go crazy cleaning it. It should come up pretty nice, unless your copper was really oxidized badly. But I'm just trying to do it briefly here so we can run through all the steps. Once I've cleaned those pieces, I get rid of the steel wool and all the little fibers from it and get that out of my way, because I want to keep this working surface as clean as possible. I don't want to pick up any little fibers with the stamps and get them in the ink, anything that might mess up the design. So now I'm going to get my blue painter's tape and just peel off a strip. I like the wide tape because you can fit the majority of your pieces on it. Sometimes if you get the skinny tape, you have to kind of patch it up so that it gets all covered. And what I'm doing here is putting this on the back side because we are trying to protect the metal from getting eaten or worn down from the ferric chloride. So that's just a protective thing that we're doing to it. Then I'm going to take scissors. You need scissors, and trim around. You want to get all the excess off. If you have just a little tiny bit hanging over, that's okay, but you want to get the majority off. You want to make sure that that tape isn't going to flip up into your design. So try to trim it up as nice as possible. Okay. All right. Are we doing good so far? Okay. This is boring, but necessary. I will try to answer your questions as best I can when I get a minute. If I can't address them while we're live, I will certainly get back to you when this is done. And like I said, I'll post resources so that you can find any items that you might be looking for. Now with the washers, I don't cut out the circle inside. I just don't bother with it. This is a real thick metal, thicker than the other pieces, so I don't give that too much concern. Okay. Okay. All right, so I've got all my pieces cut. Get rid of that. Okay, and now I'm gonna get ready to stamp. So the pieces are just blue on the back. And I'll get my ink. And let's see here. Sometimes I get lucky and I get a good image on first on the bat, but sometimes not. Then I'm gonna just give them a wipe with some alcohol with a Q-tip. That might have been a little too much, but I'm just going to clean those all off a little bit. Before I stamp. I guess I had this Q-tip in the alcohol and it just got all limp and soggy on me. So I guess that's not a good thing to do. I learn something every time from my mistakes. Okay. Dry that off a little bit. Got a little bit too much on there. Take too long to dry. Okay. Now, another thing that this little craft foam piece is good for is for stamping. It gives you just that little extra bit of cushion that you need sometimes when you're pressing your stamp onto the metal. Now, let's see here. I will start, I guess, with this flower. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm just going to get some ink and ink it all up real good. And then I'm going to come right over the top of it. I've got my arms kind of steady on the table, and I'm going to just drop it down. Can you see? And give it a little press and just a slight wiggle. This is really important when you're coming down onto the metal, that you don't slide. If you slide your stamp, it's just going to be all streaky, and you don't want that. So this is, can you see that okay? The image came out pretty good on here. I'm happy with that. So what I'll do then with this piece is I get my little tray here, and I'm going to just lay them on there. I'm not going to press them on right now. I'm just going to lay them there, get them out of the way, get them out of harm's way. Okay. Now I will do, let's see here. Well, I did it in different order because I've got some already in the tank etching, and I was trying to duplicate them so I could show you exactly, but I strayed from the program as I usually do. Okay, so now I'm going to take, I've got a little spider web that I think is kind of cute, and get that all stamped up, inked up, I should say. And come right down over it, press it, give it a slight wiggle, and lift up. Now sometimes the metal will stick to the bottom of your, to the ink, and all you have to do is take your fingernail and just kind of give it a little flick, just carefully down there, and it'll fall down. So that's easy enough. Okay, so here is the spider web. You can see that too. If there, I hope there's not too much glare, but that's a spider web. There again, I'll place that on my board or my tray and move on to the next one. What did I decide? Oh, I was going to do, I've got this lottery wheel stamp that I just love this stamp. I don't know why. I don't play the lottery. But there's just something about it that I like. So I'm going to use that on this round piece. Another neat thing about having this craft foam is that you can test your images out on it too. You can just stamp right on top of it and see if that's something you want. So that's just a little something. Okay, so with the lottery wheel, and here's another thing. You can't get, excuse me, you can't get the entire image, of course, on these small pieces of copper, but that's okay. I think it's a really nice effect to have half of a design or a part of a design, or maybe combine designs, do a little piece of a stamp, you know, different stamps on different portions of the metal. That's all. It's just really, you can do whatever your imagination allows. It's just lots of fun to try different things. So I'm going to stamp the whole thing up because I really can't tell where I'm going to be. And here I'm using a wooden stamp, so it's kind of a crapshoot where I'm going to come out. So hopefully it will be where I want it to be. If not, I can use the alcohol and take that off. Now let's see, what part of this do I want? I'm going to center it here. Give it a press and a slight wiggle, just a little bit. And lift up, and it's stuck, so that's okay. I'm just going to take my fingernail and pop it down. And I got the image that I was going for. You see that? Okay. So I put this on the board as well. Set it there. Now for the washer, I've got this little bubble stamp that I just think is just as cute as can be. Let me see. Do I have a piece of paper? I don't know if you can get this anymore. Like I said, folks, I've had these things for a long time, so I don't know if they're still available. But here are the bubbles, if you can see that. And that's kind of a neat stamp to go around the edges. If you have areas that are blank, say if you had a larger piece of metal than this flower, and then you're going to have bare area all the way around. If you don't want that bare area, then you can go right around the edges with the bubbles, or you can take a portion of another stamp and just kind of hit around the edges all the way around. There's just a ton of different things that you can do. So to me, that's it's so much fun with this. So I'm going to put the bubbles on the washer. Oh, I didn't do that one too good. Oh, and I slid. Okay, so I slid. I don't like that. And I'm going to get a paper towel and my alcohol. And I'm going to wipe that off. I just clean that off. Now, I did forget something before I put these pieces on the tray, which I'm going to take one off right now. With your Sharpie marker, you take the edge of the metal and the edge of the marker, and you're going to coat that all the way around, trying very carefully not to get it on your image on the front. But you're protecting this, you're putting that resist on this so the metal doesn't get eaten off the edge of your design. Okay, so you do that with all your pieces before you put them on. So I'm sorry I forgot to mention that when I should have, but I'm telling you now. So there you go. All right, so I put that over there. And there again, I'm going to do the edge. I generally don't do the edge until I do the design, because if the design gets messed up and then I have to clean it off with the alcohol, then I'm more than likely going to end up get that ink on the front of it. All right, so I'm going to try this once again. And come straight down on it. Make sure not to slide. That's what got me in trouble with the other one. And that's okay just like that. Okay, so there's the bubbles. Excuse me. All right, and I'm going to put that on the tray. Now I'm going to do one that's a little bit dicier, but that's okay. This sunflower. I love this sunflower, but I can only get a portion of them, of course, so I'm going to stamp the whole thing up. Sometimes with the larger stamps, you can take the ink pad and kind of go the reverse side too, reverse way, and get all that ink on there. Okay, now I can't see where I'm going on this one. This is really, you kind of just in the dark. Press it down, give it a good press because it's a large stamp. And lift, and it's stuck, so I get my fingernail under there. Oh, holy cow, it's good. So there is the sunflower. Now I don't put my holes in the metal first because I've tried that before and it seems like having that hole in there, the acid eats away at that hole as well. So I put the hole in afterwards. Just a little side note there. If for some reason you don't get the entire image, like say there's a little line here that really didn't get caught, but for the most part this is a good image. So I'm just going to take my Sharpie marker and kind of add those little lines that were omitted. You can also add a few extra lines if you wanted, but it's not really necessary on this. But if you don't have a good clean image, a full entire image in the black, in the ink, you're not going to get a good etching. So it pays to wipe it off and do it again, however many times it takes till you're satisfied with the image. Because after you've spent the time doing this, if it comes out not so great, you're not going to be too happy with yourself. You're going to wish that you took the extra time to make sure that it was good in the first place. So, all right, so now I'm going to put this on here. Oh, I didn't do my edges again. Oh, if I only had a brain. Okay, back up here. Your hands will get quite dirty in this technique, and they'll need a good scrubbing when you're done. It doesn't come off real easy, but it does come off. So there's that. Okay, that's better. All right, so now I'm going to take the back end of my Sharpie and I'm going to press these pieces down. And I want them to make sure that they stick really well. Now, when you're doing multiple pieces, and I'm only doing these just for time's sake, when you're doing multiple pieces, you want to make sure that you position your pieces as close together as possible. You don't want them to overlap or to touch by any means, but you want to be able to conserve as much space so you can get as many pieces on here as possible for one-time use. So just keep that into consideration. Don't do it like I'm doing unless you're only doing a few pieces. But if you're going to use the ferric chloride and go through the expense of having all these things, then you might as well get as much as you can out of it. So at least that's my theory. So I have already poured my ferric chloride in another container, and I have maybe about maybe about a ½ inch or so. You can do ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch of solution. You don't need like inches of it because it's just going to get wasted. So all right, so I'm got my timer. I'm going to set it for 30 minutes. Generally, like I said, I think I said before, generally it's about 30 minutes for first time use. Oh, great. Excuse me. Sorry about that. That's my husband's phone because mine is not working right now. The cell phone part. Anyway, I can't stand that ringtone that he has. It scares the hell out of me every time I hear it. Okay, so I'm going to set it for 30 minutes. And I guess I have to do that again because I just screwed it up. Okay, so it's set for 30 minutes. Now I'm going to take my tray and put it face down into the solution. And I'm going to cover it. Now when I do my classes, I generally have my students just take their Sharpie marker and mark what time they put this in the tank because it's hard to keep track for everybody. Not everybody works at the same pace, and that way they're in charge of keeping the time for their etch, and it seems to work out pretty good. Now you have the option of using your dowel rods, and you would agitate like this for 30 minutes or 35 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever. Okay, sorry, got my double eyes on here. You can do this as such, or like 2 pencils, 2 dowel rods, either one works, or my special guest has arrived, so I need to share that with you, share him with you. This is Dave. Dave is making his cameo appearance. He is a dental vibrator. Okay? Not the normal kind. Well, whatever. But Dave works. I take Dave with me for all my classes. And he's a workhorse. He really is. So I wanted to introduce you to Dave. He's always a big hit. So you could put your Etching on Dave and turn it on. And there's different adjustments. You can have him vibrate, a gentle, slow vibrate, or a really aggressive one. It's up to you. But just a normal vibration is good. So anyway, Dave made his appearance. He did his job. But I'm not going to keep him on because I'm afraid it's going to affect our audio too much. But everybody should have a Dave. You can probably find one on eBay. I think that's where I got one. And I think it was from a dental supply house. Maybe it was $50. I don't remember. But he's a time saver because you don't have to babysit and roll, this for all that time. So you can be doing other things. And I like that. So I'm going to put that aside. And I've got my timer on for it. And because I was trying to be efficient, I already did some. They might have been in there too long, but we'll see. All right, so I'm going to take the tank that I already had going. I have some clean water. And I'm going to put baking soda in here, a nice amount, because we're going to neutralize the ferric chloride that's on the pieces right now. Make sure you don't get any baking soda in your ferric chloride because it will deactivate it. So just be careful. If you feel like you've got some on your hands, wash them off. All right, so I'm going to pick up the tray very carefully. All my pieces stayed on. If they didn't, you'd find them floating down in the bottom, but this got very dark compared to how it was when it went in. All right, so I'm just going to peel these pieces off. Sometimes the blue tape stays on, and that's okay because it gives you a little less to have to deal with. And the water gets all foamy. Okay, let's set that aside for now. And I'm going to cover up my tank, set that out of the way, and get some more paper towels. And kind of give them a nice little bath in here. You see how the copper changed color a little bit? That's okay, we'll get that all cleaned up. But I'm cleaning them up. You can use a brass brush. If you're at a sink, you could use a brass brush. I don't have one handy right now, but I'm going to use steel wool with mine. So each piece I'm going to take out after I clean them up a little bit. Just give them a little rub. Okay. Get those out. Okay, I know you're in here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I had 5 pieces, and I have 5 pieces. All right, I'll leave my gloves on at this point because I'm just bound to get all dirty. I'll get rid of this now. This water I will add more baking soda to it, and I will put this down the drain because I use so much water when I'm doing these that I would just have gallons and gallons and gallons of rinse water. And I don't know if that's okay really or not, but that's what I do. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I will do this. I'll add a lot more baking soda, flush it down really well, and hope for the best. Okay, so I've got these pieces ready to go. I'm going to get my craft foam back here. And these I will just, you see how it stains? I mean, this gets on your clothes and it does not come out. Trust me. Or, you know, on anything that you're using with it. Even the bottoms of the tanks, you know, they get kind of orangey looking, even if you scrub them real well. All right, I'm going to put my face mask back on because I don't want those fibers. I don't want to be breathing them. The backs, even though I had the tape on there, sometimes that seeps under there a little bit, so you'll have some cleanup to do on the back as well. But that's really not a huge deal. This tape didn't come off, so there we go. Get my steel wool. Clean all your edges too. You want to make everything nice and clean. But look at that. Can you see that okay? It's a nice etch. They can get a little bit rough around the edges too. You know, the ferric chloride is eating. Well, I didn't draw the Sharpie around some of these, so that's what happens. Is the edges can be a little bit gnarly, but not bad. Okay, so you get the idea. I'm just cleaning them with the steel wool. You get that film off that was on there from the ferric chloride. And from here, you can decide what you want to do as far as if you want to dap them. I would decide where I want to put my hanging holes on them, or if I'm going to rivet them to another piece. There's tons of different options. But I always dap them before I punch the holes, and just mark on the back of where that hole is going to go. And I found that to be a lot better because the holes don't distort when you dap them. Well, I've had an issue with that. They distort if you dap them. How do I want to put that? If you put the holes in first and you dap them, you can misshape. The holes get misshapen. That's probably the right way to say it. So if you dap afterwards, you get a nice round hole. Now, what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to take these pieces that I did here today, and I'm going to show you how we can add color to them. And that's just another design option if you want to do that. And it's a lot of fun. I'm going to use alcohol inks, and maybe some vintage patinas. I don't know. I have to decide, but I'll try to give you a variety of things so that you can see some of the things that are possible to do with them. Okay, so let me see if I can, let me take these off. See if I can bring the camera down a little, or maybe this closer so that you can see. I hope the glare is not too bad, that you can at least see what we did here. But that's etching on copper with rubber stamps, folks. Yeah, I think there's too much glare. You probably can't see it very well. But I will post them, post a picture of them afterwards. Now, I don't know if I've forgotten anything or not. I generally do. So, you know, I'm going to look. Yeah, the etch I think came out pretty good. This was probably a little bit longer than 30 minutes because I started before the broadcast. But if you have any questions, I can probably take a few now and see if I can answer them for you. I'm just trying to think if I forgot something because, like I said, I generally do. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, there's Deb. There's tons of Halloween stamps. Lots of different options. I have a little spider that goes with that web, so that's kind of cute. And they have lots of holiday ones too. I have a turkey and I don't know, just different things that appeal to me. But okay. Well, I didn't spill anything on myself. That's an accomplishment right there. What do I do with my exhausted etchant? I put it in a empty container, like I'll save a milk gallon or one of these when they're empty. This one's empty. And I pour it in there and I mark it what it is and I take it to hazardous waste disposal. Sometimes the high schools have a drive where they post that you can bring, you know, paints and different things that are hazardous, and that's what I do with it. There's really no other option. You have to bring it to someplace that can dispose of it properly. Anything else? Okay, well, I'm going to go then, and I just gave you a lot of food for thought. I will post resources on here, and hopefully, other than the stamps, I have everything except the vibrator. Do you worry about the tank vibrating off of Dave? No, Dave has a nice lip around him. He's got a nice edge. So not all vibrators have that. So this is a nice little edge right here and keeps him contained. However, if you didn't have that, you know that stuff that you can line your cabinets with? It's like a foamy and it's got little holes all over it and stuff. You can cut a piece of that, like drawer liner, you know. You can cut a piece of that and lay it on top and then put your tank on top and it should not move. And so I think that would work. Gina, did I do you okay? I hope I did okay. All right, you guys. All right, well, it was fun. I'm glad that you were able to join me, and this video will be available to watch whenever you want on our page, on the group page, and have fun. If you have questions, just let me know. I'd be happy to answer, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.